Hi, my name is Dr. Felicia. I'm a licensed psychologist and owner of Skill Set Counseling, where I focus on OCD, cultural abuse, and spiritual abuse. And today I'm going to be talking about a topic within the realm of spiritual abuse. The topic I'll be covering today is love bombing and spiritual abuse. So, first of all, what is love bombing? You might have heard this term before, but basically, love bombing is in the glossary of narcissistic behavioral terms. Okay. And love bombing is not exclusive to narcissists, but it does happen when somebody, sometimes narcissistic, somebody not, sometimes not, overwhelms the other person with grandiose and, excessive displays of love and attention and affection. And these displays are often inappropriate and unwarranted. They come in large volumes, often very, very early in the relationship. Okay. And it's done as a form of manipulation, and it's done in order to trap the person and secure their love early on in order to control them. Okay, the narcissistic person, and again, the person doesn't have to be narcissistic. It's just commonly associated with narcissistic traits and behavior. But the person then will drop their mask, after engaging in this love bombing behavior, and the real person shows up after some time. Okay, so it's really important to understand and be aware of what love bombing can look like. Okay, so it's not just for narcissistic people. People who are not narcissistic do this. It's a form of manipulation, and it's used to control people. Okay, and so the issue with this, and when someone is on the receiving end of love bombing behavior, they often doubt themselves. When they see the person's real intent and real behavior, they start to question themselves. They question how they could have picked somebody who was so mean, who was so two-faced. They start to question their own capabilities in terms of choosing a partner. And this doesn't even have to occur in romantic relationships, because I said I'm going to be talking about this in regard to spiritual abuse. This can happen in friendship. So when someone is on the receiving end of love bombing, it causes a lot of confusion, it causes shame, and it causes the person to doubt their own abilities in terms of being able to pick the right people to be in relationships with. Okay. And so if you are familiar with some of my other videos, I talk about gaslighting, and people who are on the receiving end of gaslighting feel similar to how they feel when they've been love bombed. Okay. So I'm talking about love bombing in spiritually abusive systems. Okay. And those who are newcomers to spiritually abusive systems are susceptible to love bombing. Okay. So if you go back to one of my videos, I talk about the halo effect and why we fall prey to spiritual abuse. And so if you're not familiar, just go back to my video list and you'll see that video there. And one of the reasons that we can fall prey to spiritual abuse, any of us, is because we tend to assume the best about spiritual environments and spiritual leaders. Okay. And so this is the same thing with people who are newcomers to a spiritual environment, right? We're assuming the best. We don't assume that anyone has bad intentions. And the person who's coming to this spiritually abusive environment is often ignorant to the inner workings of that spiritually abusive system. Think about it this way. Think about an abusive family system, or think about an abusive household, and the parents are very mean to the children. They're cruel to them. They don't feed them often. They don't give them clean clothes. The house is just always a mess. And then someone from the family invites some of their friends over. And when that friend comes over, they roll out the red carpet for that friend, and they shower them with the best food, and they're kind, they're charming. They just put on the works for this friend. Okay. They bring out treats, games, toys, even send them home with something. And so that friend leaves that home thinking, wow, my friend has like the best parents in the world, not understanding the abuse, the horrible abuse and the horrible mistreatment that their friend is going through. And this often happens to people who are newcomers to spiritually abusive systems. They are getting the works in terms of treatment, okay? They're being treated very well, being just showered with all kinds of affection, attention, and gifts, okay? Now, keep in mind, it's common and it's expected for anybody who's a newcomer to any kind of system or establishment to be treated well. That is part of the expectation of hospitality. Okay, you want to be hospitable. Things that are even, there is going to be some sort of difference in treatment between someone who's new to a system or an establishment or a place from those who've been there for a while. They're going to see things differently, and that's okay. Hospitality is expected and it's normal. Okay, gifts, kind words, special time together, it's all part of the package. But with love bombing, the intentions are very different. When people are hospitable, the goal is to make the person coming in feel welcome, no strings attached. They're free to come and go as they please, right? But with love bombing, the intentions are not to just get to know the person. It's always with a hidden agenda. There's always strings attached. There's always something else, and it's going to perpetuate that system of spiritual abuse with the intention of controlling that person. I encourage you to go back to my videos about spiritual abuse, but spirituality in a spiritually abusive system is always leveraged against that person as a means of harming and a means of controlling them. It's a way of taking away their willpower to do what the spiritually abusive leader or system wants, what will benefit them. And in this case, love bombing is done with the same intent. Okay, so I'm going to talk about what love bombing actually looks like in a spiritually abusive environment. It's overwhelming, it's manipulative, it's rushed, it's inappropriate, and it's excessive in nature. It could be something like just very expensive gifts. And again, gifts can be a normal part of hospitality, but when the gifts are expensive, when they're excessive, that can be a form of love bombing. Singling out somebody repeatedly for intense attention, that can be another form of love bombing. Giving somebody access to the inner circle very early, without any merit, without vetting them. That's another form of love bombing. Giving somebody access to things or even giving them a position without knowing them very well. People have been in situations like this. Maybe they've been going to a place for maybe, 1 or 2 weeks, and they're already given a lot of, I would say, maybe prestige, a very prestigious title, something that maybe somebody else would have gotten, would have taken them maybe years to get. They're given within a matter of weeks. And so it's this rushed intimacy, but that rushed intimacy is displayed through things that are excessive and grandiose, okay? One form of love bombing can also include flattery, right? And so it could be things like telling someone that, they're just like the best person that they've ever met, and they've only known that person for, one or 2 days. That's not something you tell someone after just meeting them, once. So things like, you're the most amazing person I've ever met, or, you have what it takes to lead this ministry or take on this position. And while that might be true, that's something that you only say to somebody after getting to know them for some time and after they've demonstrated and proved that they're actually qualified. Okay, when love bombing happens, it's not only, through gifts and um, tangible things. It can also be through words and really building up that person's ego in a false way or an uncomfortable way. Okay. And so when someone is on the receiving end of this, they might ask themselves, well, why would this person do this for me? Or why would they say this about me? They barely know me. We barely know each other. There's this feeling of just, it just feels uncomfortable. Why are all these expensive and extravagant things being done? We don't know each other very well. In situations like this, you feel like the other shoe is about to drop. And that's usually because it is, in spiritually abusive love bombing tends to be followed by this expectation that you will do whatever is asked of you without pushback and without question. Okay. You've received all this love, admiration, flattery, gifts. So whatever they ask of you, whatever the system or the person asked of you, you better say yes. You know, they're expecting your resources in return, and the resources could be your time, it could be your money, it could be prestige. You know, sometimes people have talked about how they are a prestigious person within the community, and that spiritually abusive system or leader wants access. They want proximity to that person's power. It may be time. They expect you to be at their beck and call, doing whatever service or ministry they want from you at that time. So, you know, so, and the reason is, again, when I talked about this at the beginning, love bombing is manipulative, right? People who engage in manipulation, spiritual abuse, love bombing, they do this in a way where they don't have to directly ask for something, at least not up front, right? Sometimes those direct and aggressive requests may come later, but at the beginning, it's often done in an indirect way. Okay, so if you've been love bombed with excessive favors, you're going to be looked at as selfish if you say, no, I don't want to do this in return. If you don't say, if you, let's say you bring up something that you're uncomfortable with or that you don't like or you think needs to be changed, you're going to be looked at as someone who is critical, because after all, you've been given nothing but flattery and compliments the entire time. So how dare you bring up something that needs to be changed, or how dare you say that this system or this thing needs to be fixed, or you don't like what this person did. Okay, so if you need to step back, spend some time on your own interests, pursuits, family, whatever it is, you better not, because look at all this system has sacrificed for you. Okay, so this is what the spiritually abusive love bombing system looks like. Okay, so again, I'm just going to go over what love bombing is. It's inappropriate, rushed, and excessive displays of affection, right? It can be in terms of gifts, it could be in terms of flattery. And again, this intimacy is rushed as a means of control. People can do this in romantic relationships, they can do this in friendships. In the spiritually abusive relationship or the spiritually abusive system, it's done to get control, right? And it's done to indirectly take away your right to say no, right? And so the spiritually abusive system or the leader, they want something from you. And the way they're going to do this is by using love bombing. I talked about the different examples, but basically you'll know what it is because it feels excessive, it feels rushed, it doesn't feel sincere. And again, this is different from being hospitable and being kind. In those situations, in hospitality and true ministry and service, it's done with no strings attached. You are free to come and go, say yes, say no. But in this way of love bombing, you will see the mask slip. You will see the other shoe about to drop. And when you feel that in your gut, you know that something is wrong, and you know that you are being showered and given things with the expectation that your compliance is expected. And that's wrong. It's spiritual abuse. Okay. So if you would like to learn more about spiritual abuse, get a consultation about just getting resources and skills to cope with this. There are, you can go to my website, skillsetcounseling.com, to book a free consultation with me. And I also have resources in the description box for you or anyone else who may be in an abusive situation. It's really important to get help right away. Okay, may you have a day filled with peace and joy. Bye-bye.